Hi you guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how I added the flowers to the teacup of the Alice in the Teacup cake. I wanted to add roses to the outside of the teacup that look like Alice in Wonderland roses, so they needed little faces in the middle. I wanted to just create a simple little face, so I just rolled out a ball and then I used my two thumbs to create these little indents where the eyes are going to be, and it kind of creates a little bit of a bridge of a nose as well there. And then I just roll out a tiny, tiny little piece. I'm using the fondant modeling chocolate mixture that I used to cover the cake, so it's the exact same color. Put my little nose on with a little bit of water, and then I'm using my Dresden tool to just score on some closed, squinty eyes. Super simple, super easy. And then I'm scoring on a mouth as well. And then, you could put as much detail on this as you want. I was trying to keep mine simple, but I got this little tool in Eddie's Cake Duchess set that helped me create a little bit of a smile in the corners of the mouth there. And that's pretty much it. You just want to make sure you get the right size for your cake. So you're going to want to hold up your little ball that you roll out to the edge of your cake. I made one a little bit bigger than the other. So just to make sure that they're the right size for creating your rose. Okay, so now I am rolling out more of the same mixture to create my petals. And I'm going to roll it out relatively thin. And again, because it's got some modeling chocolate in this mixture, it will help my petals hold their shape a little bit better than fondant would, and so I don't have to really wait around for them to dry. I have an Teacup set here of circle cutters. And I first used a smaller one, which is what all those pieces are cut out. Just ignore those because it was too small. I'm using two separate sizes, and the first size is about the same size as my head. I just cut out a circle and I just used my fingers there to flatten one edge of the circle. So you can see here I use my pinch it between my finger and my thumb to flatten out that edge, and it just thins it out enough so it's in a petal shape. And I'm going to add these overlapping each other so that the center of the second one meets the edge of the first one. I hope that makes sense. So you can watch again as I do this. I'm going to find the center of this one and I'm going to place it on the edge of the one that I added before. And then I'm just going to do that all the way around. You could use a little bit of water if you need for it to stick. Mine seem to be sticking just fine because I've got a little modeling chocolate in here, so sometimes it just kind of self-sticks. But water will do the job as well. And I just place those all the way around for that first layer. And you can see if you don't want to use your fingers to flatten it out, you can also just use your little rolling pin to flatten out one edge. And then you can just kind of manipulate the petals to where you want them to be. Then for the second round, I use a cutter that's a little bit bigger than the size of the head, but use the exact same technique, adding them all the way around, adding the second one so that the center of the second one meets the edge of the first one, and so on until my rose looks good to me. At this point, it's looking pretty good. I'm going to hold it up to my cake to make sure that it's the size I want it to be. I ended up adding another layer, another round of the big petals because I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. And then to add it to my cake, I'm going to rub some water onto the back of it and get it nice and sticky by rubbing it in. If you're making this for a customer, of course, you can wear food safe gloves. And then I'm using a little skewer here that I've cut down, and I'm going to push the skewer into the cake, and then I'm going to push my flower onto the skewer. And because there's water on the back there as well, it will stick nicely, and that skewer helps give it the support so it doesn't fall off of your cake. And then I'm just going to arrange my petals so they look how I want them to while the rose is on the cake. And then I'll add my second one on a little next to it and a little bit tilted. and that gave me the look I wanted for my Alice in Wonderland flowers. But now I want to create some leaves to go with them. So I have these leaf cutters, but you could actually just cut out the shape with an X-Acto knife if you don't have cutters like these. But what I do have here is this impression. I think it's by Wilton. It's a leaf impression mat, and it creates the veining in the leaves to give them a little bit more of a realistic look. So I put a little powdered sugar on that, and after I have cut out my leaf shape, I just rub a little powdered sugar on the leaf as well, and then I place it on top of that leaf veiner, and I just gently push down with my palms, and that creates a very quick and easy leaf look. I'm going to paint these leaves with the same mixture that I used to paint the handle of the teacup. It's Roxy and Rich, again, the rose gold edible hybrid luster dust. I love this stuff. It is very, very beautiful and has great coverage. I'm going to put some in my palette, and I'm going to mix in some Everclear with it to create a paint. You could use vodka, you could use lemon extract. You don't want it too thick so that it's chunky, but you don't want it too thin because you want it to have good coverage. So you just want to play around with the consistency a little bit. If it is too thin, you can just let it sit for a minute and the Everclear will evaporate a bit, and then you can use it when you're ready. And I just painted it on the leaves, on just one side of the leaves, and now I'm putting a little water on the back of the leaves and just adding them on to the cake. Chef Rubber sells this stuff called Magic Freeze Spray, which is really pretty awesome. And I'm going to use that to help me get my handle on my cake. I've got some melted candy melts here that I actually ended up putting in a much nicer line on the very, very edge of the top of the handle on the bottom. And I'm holding the handle on after using those candy melts. And I'm using my Magic Freeze Spray and just spraying it on. And that just dries the candy melts very quickly so that my handle stays on beautifully. And then if you can see if any of the candy melts that went on, you can just kind of scrape off any extra that you see very carefully. And then if there's still some white candy melt that you can see, then you can paint over it with the same rose gold paint that you created for the handle, and it will blend in nicely. I also use confectioner's glaze to paint onto the flowers and onto the cake to give it a nice shiny porcelain finish. Just make sure you also get the confectioner glaze thinner so that you can clean up your paintbrush in the end, because otherwise you'll have to throw your paintbrush away, because this stuff is for real, if you know what I'm saying. It does not come off unless you use that thinner. And that gave me a beautiful shiny look to the flowers. If you'd like to see how I made the full Alice in the Teacup cake tutorial, including how I made Alice using the new Cakeheads body molds, head on over to cakeheads.com. Thanks for watching.